So, welcome to Hacking Meal Planning. We're talking about Meal Planning 101, and so the goal today is to just help give you some ideas, make you feel refreshed about meal planning, and maybe even learn from other people in the class. So we will get started here, and this is one of two. So we're talking about different things. So you'll have to come to the next one too. We'd love to have you. And I think I like both of the presentations, but that one, it's kind of fun. We talk more about prepping. So my name is Andrea Nikolai, and I'm a registered dietitian, and I work for Polk County as a family and consumer sciences agent. And then with me, I have Kim. You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Kimberly Bragg Armichaud. I work for Hillsborough County Extension Office as the Health and Nutrition Agent.
Okay, thank you. And then, so in case you haven't used Zoom lately, because we're starting to go to in-person things more, there's the chat box on the bottom. So we might ask you some questions, and I would love to have you guys chime in or write on the chat. And so if you see it, it's usually either as an icon below, if you hover across the top or the bottom of the screen, and then there's also a little dots that have more if you don't see it, and then you might see it there. Then we have a short evaluation that I'll send you following this webinar. I really appreciate your feedback because that's how we can make it better. All right, so going shopping then. Meal Planning 101. So what we're going to talk about today, what and why about meal planning for the week, staples, ideas and resources, and then next steps. And then next week, we'll talk more about going shopping, prepping tips and tricks, getting creative with leftovers and backup meal solutions. Can you guys put in the chat right now, do you meal plan? I would love to know, like, if you guys meal plan yourselves right now. And then why or why not, if you don't mind. Love to get us. So Amy says, yes, I don't, but I want to start. No, I don't. Trying to. I hear you on that. No, but definitely should. So I eat better. Yes. Gives me energy. That's great, you guys. Thank you for participating. So the goal is, so it sounds like you either know it's a pretty good thing and you're doing it, or you're working towards trying to get there. So the goal is to really get people in the kitchen, make life easier, and then weave in some healthy habits today, and hopefully save you guys some money too. Yeah, Joyce, I just cook for myself too, and it's something you can kind of get away with not meal planning, but I think, yeah, just something makes life easier. So what is the benefits of meal planning then? It's simple. It's planning meals for the week using a technique, and it makes healthier options available. So they found that people that meal plan more likely to eat more fruits and vegetables because they have it planned out in their meal. And you know how sometimes like the meals that you might gravitate towards when you haven't planned don't often have the fruits and vegetables always on hand and with you. So, oh, that's great. Natalie, that's great. Okay, so the one thing to always remember when doing the meal planning then, I wanted to, like, before all our other slides, when considering what meals to prepare, it's a good idea to keep the My Plate in mind. So the idea with this is that, we're eating about that portion of our meal in those different food groups. So the idea would be to get variety because each of those food groups does something different for us, and then having half your plate filled with fruits and vegetables. And sometimes when we plan, it's way easier to have that stuff on hand. We'll talk about some tips and tricks for making that a little bit easier. So meal planning, why is it important? As you guys mentioned, it saves time. So you might think this is actually going to take more time, but it'll save time because you're not running to the store, right? Saves money and then saves on food waste. So if you guys could write in the chat, what would you do if I were to give you $1,500 today? What would you do with that money? Okay, pay out some debt. Understandable. Especially now. What else would you guys do? You'd invest it? Put it in the classroom? Natalie, that's awesome. Buy meat. Understand this one too. Prepping supplies. Yeah, really. Thank you. Splurge on something fun. So just fun, interesting fact. The average American throws out per person about $370 of food a year, just that it gets wasted. And that's about 1,500 for a family of 4. And that's according to the USDA. And that might have changed slightly, but it can give you a ballpark idea. So she said buy, or he said buy fruits and vegetables. That's good. So the thing is, like, just on average, an American family throws away an estimated 25% of the foods and beverages they buy. So it's like just going into the store and you buy like 4 oranges, and on average, you're throwing away one of them as you walk out the store, because you're only consuming 75%. So if we can fix that by meal planning, which we can, then you're likely to save a lot of money. So that's one way it can save money. It also, reducing food waste, so good for the environment. And then also you can buy what you need to stay within your budget. Because if you're planning a little bit better, you might know that you're definitely not going to eat 4 oranges. You're only going to eat 3. And then you can have money for vacations and things like that. And so the first step to meal planning is, you might think it would be to like write out the list, but the first thing would be to inventory your pantry, inventory your refrigerator, and then inventory your freezer. And so this is important because you don't want to be buying a bunch of stuff that you already have on hand, and then some of the stuff that you already have on hand goes bad, and then how's that saving you money? You know what I mean? So like the idea would be to rotate the food so that the first stuff you buy, first stuff in, first stuff out. So it's like if anybody has business, it's a FIFO method, first in, first out. And so then, just rotating the food that way, so then you don't have things like on your shelf for a really long time, and then you're like, should I be using this? And so the idea would be to do that, and especially the fridge, because things go bad so fast, and sometimes just storing them right we'll talk about, but really keeping those things, like realizing what you have, can help you really meal plan. Because like, I bought some beets yesterday, and I don't really have a plan for those. And if you don't really have a plan, you can see how they could just deteriorate, and then all of a sudden they're bad, and you're like, whoops. And so then what I plan to do is make a plan to use those, and then I won't be wasting them. Okay, so there's some apps that you can help keep on hand for like the inventory of what you have. So these help with the inventory. So they like Pantry Checker, My Fridge, Food Recipes, Fridge Hero, Food Fridge Tracker, and Magic Fridge. And then there's also the Smart Fridge now. Does anybody have a smart fridge? If you do, will you guys write it in the chat? Or if you have a friend who has one, I'm trying to see if my boss will get one for the office so I can use it for testing purposes for our classes. She's not really going for that, but okay. So it's cool because I guess it can detect the type of items in the fridge and keep track of the details, such as when it expires and the usage. So it actually scans the code that's on the food, and it will know when it was bought, or when it was, I guess, picked or something like that, and it'll kind of tell you when you need to use it. And so there's a fun idea if we can all get one of those. And then just while I was talking about apps, I was doing some investigation for this class, and just there's also really good meal planning apps, which some of you might know. And for 2022, best overall meal planning app was Paprika. And if you like vegan meals, the number one best was Forks Over Knives. And then Time Crunched Cooks, I was like, that's a plus. Mealtime was the best app. And so a lot of them have free versions. Yeah, so just fun. Does anybody use an app right now to meal plan? Or have they thought about using one, or did they try one and then some of them I feel like maybe I could stick with a little bit, but I think I'm a paper pencil type of person, so probably would do it that way first. Does anybody use one? Oh yeah. Okay, use emails. So does that, what makes you like that one, Natalie? Can I ask?
Yes, what I love about emails is that I can customize it for whatever I'm doing. Like right now I'm doing gluten-free. So they have a whole menu for the whole week that's gluten-free. I can specify it for 2 people or 4 people. Right now it's 2. And it gives me a full grocery list of the meals for that week. It automatically does it for me.
Okay.
And I can shoot it over to Walmart or Instacart, the actual ingredients. The app has gotten a whole lot better, that if I don't want to follow just a gluten-free. I can select the meals that I want. It will automatically put it into a grocery list that I can shoot it over to either Walmart or Instacart. And it saves me so much time. It gives me the shopping list. It gives me the cooking, like say you ordered something from like HelloFresh, you know, they give you that
Yeah.
whole like recipe, and it's great. They have videos on how to put it all together. So I've used emails for probably a good 10 years. It's been awesome.
My gosh, yeah. And then so you guys know like they've gotten time to kind of work out some of the kinks. And I think I
Yes.
mean I know a lot of people do use them and find that they really can save some time. So I think it might be worth looking into if anybody's interested in doing it that way.
Yeah, and just to add, you can also specify on some of the meals, if it's just like a simple one, that
Yeah.
you can specify which grocery store that you want to go to, and it will give you the cost for that week. And some of them actually link in with some coupon programs too, but I haven't used
Gosh,
that.
that's really cool. I'll send you guys a list that I found of the best meal planning apps of 2022 when I send out the survey. So then you guys all have that, just so you can kind of look. And then I would love to hear like what you guys find, because then I'll know so I can help other people. So just really quick then. So planning for the week. So using theme weeks can really help. That would be one way to plan. So does anyone right now, they have a favorite meal that they make with their family every week? Like, do you have a weekly meal tradition or anything like that? Like I have a friend, they always do Taco Tuesday with their family. Spaghetti? So it's probably weekly? Yeah, it's good. Fish on Friday, yeah, that works. Works well. I know a lady, she always does homemade pizza on Friday too, just kind of fun, you know. Um, Mike says he does taco no matter what day it is. He'll do taco. Okay, so then thinking about that, it's like some people do meatless Monday. You know, there's like Taco Tuesday. Like say you have Italian Wednesday, then you could have kids' night or breakfast for dinner, things like that. Wednesday is Italian night. See, it's just nice because then it can really help you plan because you're thinking. So I'm like, okay, so what could I do with Fish Friday? Maybe I'll put the beets with that, and then you're thinking, you're already having a plan. So what do you need to use up? So think about that. Look at that inventory. Look at the store flyers to get sales ideas. Decide if you want a theme night. Involve your family and your kids because they're more likely to eat it if they have a say in what's decided. Say, like, what do you want for the vegetable along with our fish fry? Fish, grilled fish, right? Okay. Then always plan for family favorites, like them well, like what they work and can make prepping a little easier. And I know I have so a lot of friends, you just have like 5 recipes that you might be really good at, and you have those in your wheelhouse, and then those you can kind of keep rotating and then throw in different ones every time, and it doesn't have to be complicated. So have everyone in the house contribute to the menu. We talked about that. Enjoy, and it's always nice to add something new. So maybe throw in a recipe or two and have fun trying. It could become a new favorite. And then thinking about buying like triple wash bags of spinach and dark leafy greens and then using them uncooked in salads. And then you can also throw them in a lot of other things. So thinking about ways to use leftovers and use what you have. And then Kimberly's going to take it from here.
Yeah, so those are all really good ideas. I love the fact that people already have some special foods that they're choosing to make weekly. It's nice to kind of have a theme and kind of easy going that way. But leftovers are really, again, she said we can waste all that food, or we can try to repurpose them. So I think it's important when you're doing your planning to also try to figure out how you can repurpose your food. So when I make rotisserie chicken for one night for dinner, what can I do with it the next day? Well, I can can put it in a chicken salad. So that can be my lunch for the next day. Or that following night, I can make a chicken pot pie. So you're trying to figure out like how you're going to continue making those meals, but nobody wants to eat the same thing over and over again. So you try to repurpose it and to make a whole new meal. Does anybody have any suggestions on something else that you would do with rotisserie chicken if you had that for dinner? What would you do with it the next day? Anybody have any suggestions? Soup. Oh, that's a great one. Yep. Soup would be a really good one. Anything else? A chicken tortilla soup or chicken chili. Yep. Salad. Chicken wrap. Very good. Another great lunch option. Barbecue chicken. Use it on a pizza. Very good. Yeah, so if you think about that while you're meal planning, you're actually going to realize how much you save. But the one thing, like I have a family of 4, so I have to know actually how much usually is left over, because you typically, if you eat the same things over and over again, you kind of know how much your family is going to eat versus how much they're going to leave there. So you just kind of go with that and then realize how much you have for the next day. Do I only have enough to make a chicken salad for lunch for me and my husband? Or do I actually have enough to go ahead and make a whole other meal like a chicken pot pie? So just kind of see what your family typically eats, so you can get a gauge on how much you're going to have left over. Same thing with a pot roast. If I made a pot roast for dinner one night, then the following day I can use that same pot roast meat into a sandwich, right? I can make a roast pork sandwich, or I can do something with the noodles and make a a stroganoff or something like that. So there's lots of different things that you can actually plan ahead for. So you're not like taking the leftovers and then like, what am I going to do with these? You're actually putting that into your meal planning, which is going to help you save that $1,500. So you don't have to feed it to your chickens or put it in your compost, right? So that's definitely a great thing to think about when you're doing your meal planning. Then we have, go ahead to the next slide. We have the budget-friendly meal tips. So use less meat, substitute with beans. Beans are a great protein source, so you don't have to always have meat. They actually recommend that you at least have one meatless meal a week. So try to at least have that one meatless meal, and then try to save on meat. It's getting expensive, so I'm trying to find lots of ways to have different kinds of meals without that meat in there. Include meals that will stretch, like soups and stews, casseroles, things like that are going to be able to stretch a day or two. Cut down on expensive, ready-to-eat salty snacks or salty and sweet snacks. That will save you money. Limit pre-made meals. Sometimes we'll buy those chopped onions already in the vegetable aisle. Well, you're going to pay a lot more for a vegetable that they've chopped for you than if you just buy the onion and chop it yourself. So try to take those things into consideration when you're planning for a whole meal. How can I save money? What are the things that I can do? I know sometimes it's better and quicker just to grab those pre-made things, but try to really figure out the cost, if it's worth the time or the money. And then buy reusable water bottles, so you can reuse those overnight. You can refrigerate them and keep them cold. That'll save money. And then avoid excess sodas, energy drinks, and coffee drinks. All those are added sugars in our diet that we probably don't need anyway. So we really want to try to focus on getting that water into our diet. Next slide. So one thing is really important. We had talked about earlier how we should be inventorying our refrigerator, our freezer, and our pantry. But one thing that's really good is to have a staples on hand. These are things that I have all the time in my pantry, refrigerator, or freezer. So you try to think of those things. Now your list is going to look very different than my list, but for my family, we love peanut butter. I can't not have peanut butter in the pantry. It's always a must-have item. And then having that inventory list is going to help you know if you have those staples on hand or not. So brown rice is another one, some beans, whole wheat pastas, applesauce is a great substitute for oils. Salsa is always there, cooking oils, canned fruit, canned vegetables, canned meat. All those things can be part of your staple list. So you know that if you're going to have to make a quick meal, that you always have this, this, and this to be able to put that meal together. In my refrigerator, we always have cheese, low-fat cheese, eggs always, milk or milk substitutes always, And then we have, some kind of butter for, our butter choices. And then we have freezer items. I always have that Trinity blend with the peppers and onions. Always have that. Always have frozen vegetables of some sort, whether it's, Brussels sprouts, spinach, green beans. Always have something on hand. And then we always have frozen fruit as well. So again, in my brain, I know that when I'm doing my meal planning, that I can make meals with these in a pinch if I have to. Or if I know by the end of the week, I didn't meal plan for every day and I skipped a day. Okay, so what do I have that's already on hand that I can make a healthy meal for my family? So it's always really important to have that list in your head that and everybody knows that we have certain foods that we must have in our home. Otherwise, we're not very happy people. So just kind of keep an eye on those and make sure you have them. And then how can I utilize them? The next thing is what's healthier, frozen, fresh, or canned? Anybody have an option on that? An opinion? Which one's healthier, frozen, fresh, or canned? Fresh, Amy says. Fresh, Susan says. Anybody else want to weigh in? Frozen. I prefer fresh. Yep, frozen, fresh. They're all great. Yep, Andrea, they're all great. All work. So they all have actually the same exact nutrient value. So when we're talking about nutrients only, they do have all the same nutrients in them. They're just processed as a little bit different. Now we know that canned food obviously has the preservatives in it that we may or may not want in our diet, but nutrient-wise, they are equal. So we just have to make sure that if we do buy canned, we're trying to look for those no sodiums or low sodiums. They have those now available so we can have the healthier choice. Plus, we also can rinse them off to also get rid of that those preservatives and sodium. So you can use all of them. So that's why your staple list is so important. Your staples on hand, because you can have fresh, frozen, or canned, and they're all equally as far as nutrition goes. Next slide. Andrea, next slide, please. Okay, staples on hand, make them count. So mix and match strategies. So make sure that you're using everything that you have on hand. Again, that's where the first in, first out kind of goes into, even though you may not be using the same products, but if you bought apples last week and then you bought peaches this week, you really need to try to get rid of those apples, or if the peaches are riper, you want to get rid of the peaches. So you really try to focus on what you have on hand that you can actually utilize. I find in my refrigerator lots of times that I'll use substitutes. So I'll have a recipe list of different things that I'm supposed to use in that recipe, but if I have something that's going bad, I'm just going to go ahead and use that instead, or try to get something comparable that is older so I can also not waste food. So with cheese, you can always have cheese sandwiches. You can put them in main dishes, you can put them in casseroles, you can make cheese sauce. With eggs, you can make hard-boiled eggs, you can put them in salad, omelets, sandwiches. Then your frozen vegetables and fruits, you can put them in casseroles, pasta. You can even add them to your rice, put them in your soups or stews or stir fries. So with these staples on hand, you can always make a meal. There's always a meal available to you, and a healthy meal at that, and one that you've already paid for. So next slide. So popular foods, staples were designed around popular foods that most people seem to enjoy. So when you plan your meals, think of them as those popular foods. But also you want to make sure that you like them, right? So things that you and your family will enjoy the most. Like I said, my staple list might be very different than yours, but we all have things that we really, really enjoy that are healthy choices and can make good snacks or food meals. So with your chicken, use some stir fries, some rice. You can put a bunch of stuff in your rice, salads. You can make a parfait with your yogurt, cheese. There's lots of different things that you can do with your staple list. Next slide.
I think it's coming here.
Okay. We've even gave you some recipes. One of my favorite recipes is tuna macaroni salad. Oh, wait a minute, what happened? It's something easy to make. You can use the whole grain pasta, whole wheat pasta. You can, most of the ingredients you can have in your pantry already. The canned tuna, Most of us can have frozen vegetables we can put in there as well. So there is a lot of different things that we can incorporate from our staples list that we have all the time that we can make these healthy meals. So this is a great recipe. There's another one, a barbecue, pineapple barbecue chicken and rice. Another really simple thing. You can also use canned chicken for this, or you can use, chicken that you buy. From like maybe if you do the casserole. Another one would be easy cheesy chicken and broccoli. By adding that broccoli in there, you're really getting a lot of nutrients. And you just made something that's a little on the unhealthy side, but you've made it a lot more healthy by adding that broccoli. But macaroni and cheese, again, if you're making it with whole grain pasta, you're really putting a lot of effort in thinking about the nutritional values. You can get some real good nutrition values in the cheese and the pastas. Stay tuned for next week's recipe. So we do have more recipes next week for you. So when you come back, we'll be talking about some of those topics that Andrea mentioned at the beginning. And, hopefully by the end, you'll at least have, and I always tell people, start small. Don't do this really, jump full feet in. Try to take one day, just meal plan one day, then meal plan the next day. And then as you continue, it'll start getting easier and easier for you. And stock up on that pantries. Get some of those staples in there too, so you know that you have them. And that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you next week.
Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Bye.